right, this is Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. It's a Wednesday, and so we get to spend time with our favorite doctor, Dr. Yaw Osafo, the CEO of Medicas Hospital, and he's here today. Hello, Doc.
Hi, Kwame.
How are you? Okay, hold on a little bit. Let me just sort out something here.
Those.
All right, I needed to sort out a certain feed that was in your microphone, but it's sorted now. Doc, how are you?
Great.
Nice.
It's been a long.
It's been forever already.
Yeah. It was a long holiday.
Yes, I realized.
And yes, it was also an exciting Ghana month.
Yes.
I wish it would never end.
I know.
All the great music, Ghana music.
Yeah.
That you played, all the different activities. It was a shame that I couldn't do the walk with you on Saturday.
It was nice.
But I've done that walk personally.
On the high street?
Yes, I didn't even do the whole thing, but that short stretch, where the Manche, Agbona,
right,
the James Ford, Osafo, just that short area, the lighthouse.
Yeah, the lighthouse.
The history. I mean, I spent an hour, 30 minutes because I had my mentor from the UK visit.
Okay.
And we spent about an hour and 30 minutes just there.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was so much history.
There is so much history. We uncovered a lot in that enclave.
So I didn't even do that whole stretch that you reported, but I didn't know Kwame Nkrumah, the cell he was kept in.
Yeah.
We just went in there to look at it. So there's a lot of history. So yeah.
It's actually the first time I'm hearing about the fact that, back in the day, that high street separated the Europeans from the Africans,
the Africans, yes, the Ghanaians.
Literally, like they couldn't cross to the other side.
Yes. That was the division.
I couldn't imagine that.
Yep.
I've seen that story play out in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
And in Soweto, and they will tell you about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know right here at my doorstep in Ghana there was something of the sort.
Yes. You look at even all the structures there, and then you see the architecture tells you about how they had shops downstairs and then upstairs. Anyway,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Today we get to talk about a very, very important topic. Today is World Autism Day.
Yep. Today is World Autism Day. Kwame, I think when we started the year, we talked about preconception care.
Yes.
Babies. I always notice that 31st night, people make not predictions, requests. They put their petitions before God. And I can tell you, two things are always top of the list. Making babies, getting married. Or the other way around. Getting married, making babies.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So we've walked through, we've seen how the steps that you should take. Some would get pregnant. We've talked about the antenatal care.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of the challenges during pregnancy. And so, Kwame, the baby is here. And I think as parents, it's one of the most exciting days for the mothers, I must say. I think for Kwame, I know what I'm saying. Sure. For the fathers.
Who said it's not an exciting day for the fathers?
Most men, it's a scary day for them.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that title is so easy for a lot of men to carry.
Really? I thought it was okay. Well, I'll say for me, but
the women, they've now proven, and nobody can call them a witch. For the women, so for them, now nobody can bother them.
Yeah.
A mother-in-law, nobody can bother them. But for the men, the school fees is going to start. You are the role model, father figure. So a lot of men look forward to fatherhood with great trepidation.
I see.
Yeah, so I'll be cautious about saying that all men are super excited on the day, but all women are. But, Kwame, sometimes things don't go too well. We all expect our child to meet certain developmental milestones to be able to grow. You're looking forward to the day that child would first say mama or dada or stop crawling and start walking around the house. I think we all look forward to these things. We say autism, but Kwame, the full name really is Autism Spectrum Disorders, ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorders, but simply autism. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning the brain is involved in this particular development. And it's a whole range of different conditions. It's not just one thing. And that's one of the important things I want us to note from this conversation. It's not just one thing, but it's a group of conditions related to the development of the brain. It is far common or more common than we would like to think. Kwame, the statistics say 1 in 100 children. So that's very common.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on even the societies that you are looking at, we believe the figures will be higher. Sadly, we don't have a lot of figures for low and middle income countries. We believe that the statistics would even be higher if we had very comprehensive statistics. Well, I mean, this particular medical condition affects the way a growing child develops socially, emotionally, physically, and then also cognitively. And when we talk about social or developing socially, they being able to develop and maintain friendships, communicating with their peers and adults, and then also understanding what behaviors are appropriate and expected in every circumstance. So sometimes I think before we came on air, I was talking to Philip about it, and sometimes we say certain behavior, we say, oh, this would the Gen Z allow them, or it's a particular generational behavior. Well, I mean, it's not always that the case, because I think generally we also accept that there are some social cues or there are some social norms that we all have to follow. And for example, if you are in the office space, you are all alone. So you're relaxing a little bit, there isn't a lot to do, you're finished with your work. So you put your feet up. And then your boss walks in. Kwame, I think it is expected that you will not continue in that particular posture. Your feet will quickly come off the table, and you probably even stand up and then greet your boss.
Yeah.
But I think, Kwame, if you walk in as the boss and then this person's feet is still up, maybe tossing a ball or something.
Licking lollipop.
Okay. I think you would find that behavior, well, if not odd, but you will find it inappropriate. So autism is about these things as well. It's about developing and maintaining friendships. Every now and then we say some people are anti-so. I mean, what do we mean by that? Well, we say somebody is anti-so. So the person is always locked up in their room. After school, they don't engage. They are in their room either with their books. And we will label them anti-so and we think it's okay. But I mean, it may just be that this person has a challenge communicating with others. And so they would always like to be by themselves or have other means of communicating that doesn't require them to, if you're talking to the phone or interacting with the phone doesn't give you any cues. There's no body language from the phone. There's nothing. So communicating with these objects is different from communicating with another human being, because you're supposed to take into consideration things like facial expression. So sometimes these things, imagine if you called from your child's school and the teacher's complaint is that your child doesn't play with others. I'm sure we would find, or doesn't interact with other children. I'm sure you will find it a bit odd, and not say that, maybe my child belongs to a certain generation. No, even within their generation, they go for parties, they interact, they go for intercourse, they still do it. It's not as if these Gen Zs, they don't do anything. So I don't want us to put it down to these generational changes that we have, but it may be a sign that your child has a challenge with communicating with peers and adults, and also putting up appropriate behavior at work or in school. So, Kwame, in short, social communication is a big problem, and social interaction is also a big problem in people with autism spectrum disorders. Another thing is also atypical patterns of activities. What do we mean by the atypical patterns of activities and behavior? For example, they have a difficulty transitioning from one activity to the other. So when they take one thing, they are stuck with it. They're just going to just do that. But if you ask them to move on and do something else, so from morning till this time, I'm sure you've been engaged in different activities. So I know you love your tennis. I know you go swimming. So sometimes you do all of that before you hit the studio, to talk to the rest of Ghana and entertain all of us. So your ability to transition from one activity to the other is also something that we expect most people to be able to do. But it falls under one of those atypical behaviors that we see in people with autism spectrum disorders. So they would rather get stuck with one particular activity and not change. They also tend to focus on details. So, Kwame, if you have ever been with somebody who is or has maybe even almost like a fixation for getting things pepe, French, then you probably would know what I'm talking about. Living with such people is very, very difficult. So they go into the micro details of things. So you're thinking that, and yes, it's okay. I mean, this, the writing we can all see, but you say, no, I didn't get it right. It has to be very legible. It has to be this way. It has to be that way. They expect a certain level of perfection.
You know who comes to mind first? Mrs. Bouquet from Keeping Up Appearances.
Keeping Up Appearances.
You remember Mrs. Bouquet?
No, Mrs. Bucket.
Mrs. Bucket. Yeah.
So the man wants to get on with it and say, it's okay. It won't hurt anything. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. No. It has to be perfect. It has to be right. So they will not move on. So they've got this fixation about getting things pepe. So they focus too much on details such that it obstructs normal development. Right. Again, they have unusual reactions to sensations. So some of them wouldn't like to be touched in any way. So that touch sensation, pressure sensation, and all of those things. So they would react unusually, to most sensations. That you wouldn't think that, okay, you are walking in public and somebody brushes against you, and probably most of the time, unless it is something, it was like a shoulder badge or something, then you say, hey, Charlie, guy, take your time or something. But most of the time, we would take it for granted that it's a public environment, so if somebody brushes against you, that's fine. But then they would have a very, very unusual response to that. So that is by way of overview. Now, causes. Is there a cause for autism? Kwame, sadly, at this moment, we don't have scientific proof for an exact cause. But however, there are some risk factors that we like to talk about. One of the risk factors is having siblings who are autistic or who have the disorder puts you at an increased risk. It's also been realized that older parents, being born to older parents puts you at an increased risk. Another risk factor is certain genetic deficiencies or certain genetic or chromosomal disorders. There's something we call Fragile X syndrome. I wouldn't go so much into it. But Kwame, let me dismiss something here. For a long time, there was unfounded allegations about a particular vaccine. We call it the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, which is one of the, if you like, the 6 childhood killer diseases. It's no longer 6 childhood killer diseases, but the immunization protocol that we use globally and in Ghana as well. So there was a lot of noise about a preservative and then aluminium. It turns out that this particular scientist who pushed this particular agenda has been jailed and has been struck off the list of a lot of scientific institutions. It turned out that his experiments were all cooked up.
Oh, wow.
And then he accepted payments from certain interest group, to put out, that. So if anybody's listening and they've heard about vaccinations or particularly this particular vaccine we give to children being the reason why that happens, then I would like to say that it is not true. So these are the things that we know. Also, complications at birth, at childbirth. If you have a complicated childbirth, it is possible that your child might be at risk of developing autism. Now, screening. How do we make a diagnosis of autism? Kwame, most of the time, this diagnosis happens a little late. And it is not because we or the doctors are not trying enough. If you've got very experienced pediatricians, all right, the doctors who specialize in taking care of children, probably they'll do the diagnosis at 2 years because there is no medical test for it. There's no blood work. There isn't a urine test for it. Neither is it a brain x-ray, nothing to diagnose it. Most of the time, it is clinical. All right. So we're going to look at all the things that I mentioned earlier. But importantly, we look at something we call milestones, developmental milestones. So these are the things that we look out for. When we talk about these milestones, we are talking about things that most children, and when we say most children, 75% or more children can do by a particular age.
Okay.
All right. That we would expect your child to be able to do. So once the baby comes, Kwame, how old were they when they took their first steps, when they walked?
Circa 9 months, maybe.
Wonderful. So that's very early. They are outliers. So my younger brother, Kwadrado, he also did 9 months.
Okay.
All right. But the average would be a year.
A year?
Yes. Most children, 1 year.
Well, my mom tells me I didn't wait till a year.
Oh, okay.
I was quite early as well.
All right. I said they are now pentem.
Now pentem.
Now pentem. Still have to be who. Real hurry. Right. So these are what we call milestones, and the milestones are in different areas. Typically, we'll look at the motor milestones and then we'll also look at verbal milestones. Okay. But if you break it down further, then we have what we call the social or emotional milestones, language or communication milestones, cognitive milestones, and then the physical milestones. So from 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 15 months, 18 months, 24 months, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, there are things we expect the child to be able to do. And if the child is not able to do these things, then we will suspect that the child is developing that. But most of the things we don't pay attention to, so we'll miss them. So it is when they are far older, 3 years, 4 years, and they miss these things, that is when most people will, for example, pay attention. So Kwame, let's start with some of these milestones.
Okay.
So at 2 months, for example, what should that baby be able to do?
Be able to go get the remote.
Kwame, 2 months, and then they're the remote. So we'll look at social or emotional milestones at 2 months. the baby will calm down when spoken to or when you pick the baby up. So the baby is crying and all that, and then you go and pick the baby, and then you start, oh, royalty, oh, careful, that kind of thing. Then the baby stops crying. All right, so we expect that will calm down. The baby actually starts to look at your face, so they make facial contact. And most mothers will tell you this. And they also seem happy. They start to, smile. They seem happy to see you when you walk up to him or her. All right, they seem happy to see you, and then they smile when you talk or you smile back at them. So these are some of the social or emotional milestones we expect at 2 months. Then communication milestones or language. They begin to make other sounds beyond crying or other than crying. They make other sounds. So in the first few weeks, all they do is cry. Then they start to what we call the cooing sounds. They start to make these sounds. So at 2 months or something, you expect them to start to make these additional sounds. And then also they start to react to loud sounds. So something boom or something, then they get startled. Or they will cry, or do something to let you know that they have been startled, and then you know exactly what to do. So these are some of the things that we expect them to be able to do. The physical milestones, for example, they start to be able to hold their head. And quite traditionally, that's when you'll be told that you can put the baby at your back. Yes.
When they can hold their
head. So typically when you lie down and you put the baby on your tummy, you see that they try to raise their head and you're able to hold it. If you're able to do that, traditionally that's when ubutumi de abofana shewechi. Naden toma abonimu.
Okay.
Because they can hold their head.
Right.
Otherwise their head tends to
fall off.
Fall backwards. So these are some of the things that we expect.
At what age are they able to stop it when you say stop it?
Never.
No, we need to find that milestone. When you say stop it. At what age are they supposed to stop?
Kofi 10:30 on Sunday, and then the senior one will be 16 in May. Stop it, though.
You are still saying stop it. I give up.
Because now it is explained with illustrated diagrams why we cannot do it. Oh
wow!
You are talking. We'll show you something. You Google as to why what you are saying. But now it's like they know more than you.
Wow!
Now say stop it. So but
I'm sure there are more of these milestones that would share.
So next week, I think we will go into a lot of the milestones for the different ages.
Okay.
So that parents or guardians would know, when they have missed something.
Okay.
When should they start? Should you expect them to start to talk? And the talk is very simple. I was telling Philip gave me a very nice example. I said, they can use 2 words to communicate with you. And then Philip was like, "Mama, poo-poo." And I was like, yeah, that's it. It doesn't need to make that long sentence.
Yeah.
But I say, "Mama, poo-poo," and then you get it. So then we say, "Dada, money, dada, cash."
Mommy, there is poo-poo. Daddy
yeah. So next week we'll do more about the development.
For those who want to reach out to you and have conversations about this, how do they do that?
Right. So Kwame, we have a very vibrant pediatric clinic at our new branch. So if you think your child has any challenges or you want to come and speak to us, the number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Osafo. Dr. Yaw Osafo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital. Hannah has the latest updates in news. It's 5 o'clock. What's happening?
Sure. Coming up, a controversial court ruling that ordered the release of excavators seized from illegal miners has been overturned